Albert Lee Cup Championship race is brought to you by Wolf. Wolf distills 70 years of professional cooking into technology any cook can command with ease, and is presented for Seafair by Albert Lee Appliance. We don't just dabble, we are appliances.
And here are the boats for racing, not only for all the marbles, but for about $25,000 as well. The Spirit of Qatar, Ram Trucking, Oh Boy Alberto, Vulcan.com, Albert Lee Appliance, Formula Boats presents Todd Haas, and the 88, the Degree Men. Here we go. Our Carl's Jr. starter clock. Head to Carl's Jr. for new hand-breaded chicken filet sandwich made with fresh hand-breaded chicken breast. As we get set to go racing, we're going to look at the drivers. We're going to talk about them. You've heard about them all day long. These are the best in the business, driving the fastest boats in the business, starting with a man with 3 first-place finishes, the boat to beat, Mike, Dave Villwock.
And Dave has stayed out of the fracas all day long. Now he's going to find it difficult to stay out of the fracas. He's also got to worry a little bit about some repairs they had to make, but he's still the boat to beat.
Chris Francis, how did those repairs go?
Yeah, the broken strut, and they worked on it for 4 hours, so it depends on how well that repair went as to whether he could be as fast as he was earlier today.
The Graham Trucking boat with Jeff Bernard has really come on here in the second part of the weekend, Chip.
Jeff Bernard, doesn't matter what kind of boat he has, he's going to hurl himself at that start line. It doesn't matter if he thinks the boat's competitive or not. He's a tough guy.
What kind of race is it going to be with the sausage boat? Steve David. He is the champion around these parts, and Michael, he's still got a fast one underneath him.
Still got a fast one, but it's a little different boat than he raced here last year after some accidents. She's a little heavier. She doesn't go slow very well, but he's going to have to go slow well in order to be able to go fast. This is the boat that could take it for a repeat.
Jenny, they've got that boat set up the way they want it?
Yes, he walked past confident and excited. He's a man on a mission right now. We're going to see what's going to happen, guys.
The Vulcan.com with Scott Litticoast at the controls.
He's been a surprise all year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did it again here.
Brian Perkins, what might be on his mind right now? At least you know his sister's feeling better. He's piloting the Albert Lee Appliance boat.
Got significantly better boat speed as the day progressed, and if he gets a good start in the right position, he could be a factor.
I love the fact that this man is in the final. Mark Evans, who won it all back here in 1997, Chip.
I don't think he's got the equipment to win here, but you know Mark, he'll give it everything he's got.
And J. Michael Kelly really threw some speed out there in the final heat.
Sure did. Fastest of the day. He's going to have to, unfortunately, start as a trailer. Can he pick him off? Will that speed allow him to move up? We'll see.
Taking a look at the course right now. And as you see all the boats out there, temperatures are picking up, 74 degrees. Wind's not too bad, but some ripples out on the water that everyone's going to have to deal with. And Pat, we're set for another Seafair Championship.
And will this big finale be victory number 65 for Dave Villwock? That's the big question. Or will the folks down at the Sausage Factory be jumping up and down with joy? We'll wait and see.
As they are scoring up, we welcome Sports Radio 950 KJR and listening around the world on KairoTV.com. The man who's been with us for more than a quarter century, calling these races. He's here to do it again. This is for the Albert Lee Cup, Mike Fitzsimmons.
All right, they've got 6 seconds to get to that yellow buoy in the center of your screen. If they're there too early, and one of them may have been, it looks like he would have been right on time or slightly ahead, but he's also got a couple of boats in his rooster tail and shifting about as this continues. Down the back chute, the old boy Alberto is on the inside. This is exactly where Steve David wanted to be. But the question is, can he hold on to that now as he gets about 3/4 of the way down the chute? He's got to get to the entrance pin of the north turn to be able to own that position. Let's see if he does.
Villwock is outside here. I think that's Villwock right there, so he's quite a ways outside. That's a long way to go if Steve David gets off to a good start. Indeed, that is Villwock right there. So he's going to have a lot of speed to come from this far out.
Yeah, he's coming out from the 4 or 5 lane thereabouts. But the old boy Alberto has the inside. The question is that a good place to be for a start? He's going to have to get a perfect one. 11 seconds left on the clock, and they're coming on strong. And it looks like also the Vulcan is getting into position there to trail. And we also have the 7 boat right up there as well. the Valken.com as they come across the line. Valken.com is looking for the advantage in lane number 2. Mark Evans got a terrific start in the form of the boats on the outside. Here they come through the corner. Is there enough room for everybody? That's the question. Looks like they got through cleanly, Chip.
Steve David was late at the start, but it looked like Scott Litico right there pushed Dave out about 2 lanes, so that could be a problem for Dave. But look at the speed of that guitar boat.
Guitar boat is obviously very, very fast. He's moving up very quickly on the Oh Boy Alberto here on the first. This is a 5-time around of hair. Don't forget, 5, not 3. So they've got to go the distance as well as have the speed. Okay, off the corner, it is Steve David on the inside in the Oh Boy Alberto. Right next to him is the Valken, and right next to him is the Guitar, and they're coming on strong down this front straightaway. 3 boats virtually within a tick of each other as they come down to end lap number 1 and head into the second time around down into the lower corner. Can Steve David hold him off? This is the same thing that happened in Tri-Cities. He had the lead, but it only lasted 3 laps because he didn't have the boat speed in the end. And what was that speed, Pat?
137.798 on the first time around.
All right, not particularly fast, all things considered. Stephen David's still out front, Chip.
Valken is causing Dave Villwock right there a lot of problems because he can't move over to get close to the Alberto boat because he's got the Valken boat with Scott Litico between them right there. He would like to come over, but he can't because he can't foul him. So I tell you what, the guy that may make this race happen for Steve David is Scott Litico.
That's indeed the case, and Steve David is starting to pull a little more distance on the Guitar at this point, get a little air underneath as he comes across the start-finish line into lap number 2. Here comes Dave Villwock across the line. Here comes the Valken.com with Scott Litico across the line. And 4th place overall, it's Brian Perkins in the Albert Lee.
And on the second and 5 times around the course, 140.831 for the Alberto.
They've picked up the pace, but now Dave Villwock for 2nd place has got himself a real battle with the Valken. They're side by side up there as Steve David continues to see all that in the mirrors. And right now the Valken has got a little more power than it appears the Guitar has, and they're starting to pinch just a little bit. He's pushing.
What
he just crossed through the rooster tail there.
That was a weird move. I think it was legal because he didn't make Dave move out any, but a little bit controversial. But I tell you what, Scott Litico right there is making life very hard for Villwock.
Oh, he is indeed.
He can't get at the Alberto to put pressure on him.
Now, unless there was a violation, that was a pretty good move because that put Dave Villwock back into 3rd place and, of course, gave yet further advantage to the Oh Boy Alberto out front now. Steve David watching all this action in his mirrors, and he's lasted longer out front so far than he did over in Tri-Cities as he comes up on lap number 4.
You know, I have to say, Steve David finds a way every time here. Dave Villwock has got the better boat, but every year Steve David reaches down very, very deep and finds a way. And this year he's got help because of Scott Litico right there is basically running interference for him.
He only needs 1 more lap and a quarter to get it done. And right at the moment, he's got it under control at this point with a full rooster tail lead across the start-finish line. Here comes the Oh Boy Alberto. 1 more lap, the white flag showing for Stephen David as he still continues to pull away from the Valken. And the Valken has a rooster tail on the Guitar, so they're spread out fairly well at this point. It's going to take a miracle for anybody to catch Steve David.
4th lap at 136 miles an hour, and he's in control.
I find it hard to believe that Steve David, year after year, finds a way to win a national championship and bring the Seattle Alberto boat home first here in Seattle, but he's about to do just that.
Well, we've been saying all weekend long the real factor out here might be that Valken and Scott Litico, and for sure it is. Without a doubt, this victory might not be possible had Scott Litico not done some of the driving he did. We'll see for sure whether or not there's any problem. We've heard of no violation whatsoever from that black number 7. Here's the checkered flag for the Oh Boy Alberto, a 3-peat for Stephen David. Second across the line is the Valken.com with Scott Litico. And a distant 3rd across, basically having given up, knowing it was not going to happen today, Dave Villwock in the Guitar.
Well, year in and year out, we are surprised in the final heat. There's the Alberto crew. I think that's Larry Alberto right there. I tell you what, I have nothing but admiration for Steve David. I'm glad Steve David didn't drive like this 15 years ago or 20 years ago when I was racing against him, because as he's gotten older, he's gotten more aggressive, which is not what you would think.
Let's just wrap up the business. 4th place across the line. That one is the Vulcan.com. Excuse me, that one is the 88 degree. The other black boat. 5th is the Graham Trucking, and 6th across the line, the U57, the Formula Boats, presents Todd Haas.
J. Michael Kelly went from the trailer boat to 4th place. That's a good run.
Scott Liticote is one smart driver. I don't know Scott. I've never seen him race to the limited boats, but I tell you what, he is a smart guy.
And he's not new to racing. Certainly 19 years experience under his belt and some championships in his own right. He earns the ride, obviously, in unlimited racing, and he certainly has demonstrated already. He knows what he's doing.
Becoming sort of a headline is the fact that Dave Villwock was denied victory number 65 because Mike Hansen and Steve David and that Oberto team pulled that magic rabbit out of the hat again.
Hey, Pat and Mike, I just throw this out there because it happened, of course, while we were getting the run up to this race. But as Chris Francis told us, a lot of repairs going on the rear end of that Qatar boat. I wonder if that could have had any problem here. Maybe Chip, you answer this, a little shake or a shimmy or a vibration or something?
Yeah, but if it's a strut, it's either broke or it's not broke. The strut is what holds the prop shaft on the bottom of the boat. So if he was going as hard as he was, tells me that it should have been okay.
However, Steve David's speed now on lap number 4 was down in the 133 range, and for Villwock, with all the boat speed he has, for him to lay back and seemingly give it away to Steve David tells me there's something that wasn't cooking quite right in the Qatar.
Well, he had a long way to go.
He knew he didn't have any distance. He couldn't make up the distance in the lap.
He had a long way to go around.
Just bring it home right.
He was way outside, and you got to carry so much speed on that outside. Think about twirling a string, with a weight on it. The outside there, it's got to go a lot faster. So, I don't know. I think he was just too far outside to get at the Oberto.
How do you figure, though, the Liticote and the Vulcan beating the Qatar? That's amazing.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to have a problem with Scott Liticote. I didn't see an infraction, but Scott was very aggressive. He did a great job. And there's Steve David and the crew, Mike Hansen.
Guys, I want to point out, Chip, that just a few moments ago we saw a picture of Steve David standing on the dock, so concerned, looking out to see how Kaylee Perkins Mallory was after her accident. And yet he focused, he got in that boat, and he went out there and drove the wheels off of it and won another championship here in Seattle.
Steve,
what?
It's a boat. It has no wheels.
That's what I meant.
It has no wheels. Drove the sponsons off
That's
of
what
it.
I
They call a prop a wheel.
There was an interesting thing during the heat, and that is Steve David on lap number 3 went way wide in the north turn. Way wide, and I think that was a big factor because that shoved the Vulcan and it shoved Villwock at the same time, way to the outside. If you look at a replay, look at that turn to that north turn in the 3rd lap with the Oberto.
That was definitely a turning point, and the issue was the Vulcan helping or was Steve using the Vulcan for interference? And either way, it worked out to his advantage.
Well, I think the Vulcan did what he could do for himself, because running in the Oberto's wake isn't going to help him. So he knew he wasn't going to catch him, so he moved to the outside to get clean water, get out of Oberto's wake. In doing that, that forced Dave even farther out, and Dave just had too far to go.
We want to go down to the side, down to the pits, and Chris Francis. Chris,
I don't even think we've talked to the winner yet, but you feel like a winner because that was a great run.
Oh yeah, that was pretty awesome, man. You don't get to beat the 96 real often. We'll take that.
Well, how'd you do that? Tell me about what it took to get in front of him and go by him.
I don't know. I mean, there was a couple times, I don't know, maybe I was flying it a little more than maybe I should have, but I figured it's the final heat. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah. Now, look, we talked all weekend about how you're an up-and-coming driver in this series. Did you feel like this is your coming-out party? You sort of proved it today?
I hope they're starting to think we belong here. I got to thank Vulcan for sponsoring the boat, Ted Porter for giving me a shot to drive it, and Air National Guard for sponsoring our series. It's going to be a good deal.
Well, you drove it well. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Back to you guys.
One of the 3 Porter boats in the race today, and yeah, he's not exactly a rookie. 19 years he's been racing boats, but he hasn't been in the big boats all that long.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a guy a little bit of time to adapt to the heavier weight of these unlimiteds, but Scott Liticote looks like he's been doing it for years.
The Porters, by the way, are from Decatur, Indiana. They have 3 boats as the sport seems to be spreading out ownership-wise. Used to be focused all in Seattle. Now they're from all over the country.
The guy you saw with Steve David right there is Mike Hansen. And Mike Hansen right there is one of the smartest and, without a doubt, the hardest working guy in unlimited hydroplane racing. And he had to take this boat, which was almost destroyed, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, get it back, not just to be a winner, but to run it all, and then to go out and do this. I tell you, hats off to Mike Hansen and everybody at Alberto.
There was a big hug right there for Art Oberter, who just got into town this afternoon from back east, and he got here just in time to watch his driver and his boat, unofficially at least at this point, win the championship, win the Albert Lee Cup here at Seafair. But we've had no word on any kind of penalty, certainly against the Alberto boat. And they just ran out and ran away with this race. As we're waiting, we're going to get to Steve David instantly. As soon as he gets the helmet off, finishes talking to his crew members, we're going to get it down to Jenny Hogan. And there we go, the big hug.
That's Art Oberto right there with the hat. I'm sure he's giving you a piece of pepperoni at some point.
I'm certain of that. Guys, Steve David kind of takes all the earplugs out, grabs the bottle of water, and here we go, being escorted by members of his team. Let's go down to Jenny Hogan. Jenny.
With me, hi.
Hey, we won. You, me, and Sienna, we won.
I love it. My daughter's watching. So let's keep walking. You got to get to this presentation ceremony, but talk to me about that.
Just the guys gave me in a fantastic boat. The Alberto guys never gave up on me, and today the old guy pulled one out of the hole.
Well, were you saving anything? You said that you were given.
Oh, I'm a man. You can never trust what I say.
I love it. Well, everyone was congratulating you then. Anything else you want to say to all these people?
Thank you to everybody for supporting Alberto and for supporting Park Place Motors, our sponsors as well, and the folks that made me my jacket from Design 500, my rib protector, and my wife, who's been through so much this year with me and hangs in there and supports what I do.
What do you want to say to that, wife?
Oh, he's awesome. I'm so happy for him. He deserves this.